There is a moment, just before the first call to prayer at dawn, when Istanbul holds its breath. The Bosphorus is perfectly still. The minarets are dark against a pale sky. The fishermen on Galata Bridge have their lines in the water, and the city, which has been the center of the world for more than 2,000 years, feels like it's about to tell you a secret. I'm your TravelShifu. In 30 years of travel, no city has stopped me in my tracks the way Istanbul does, every single time. Because this is not just a city. It is the place where Europe ends and Asia begins, literally, physically, on the same waterway. And that collision of worlds is in every stone, every spice, every face you see. 24 hours, 10 moves, the city of empires. Let's go. 1. Must see. Standing in Sultanahmet Square, Hagia Sophia and Blue Mosque facing each other. Sultanahmet Square. Stand in the middle of it, in the open space between the Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque, and turn slowly. This half-kilometer of ground has been the civic heart of one of the greatest cities in human history for over 1,600 years. The Byzantines held their chariot races here. The Ottomans built their most magnificent mosque here. The two buildings look at each other across the square like old rivals who have learned, finally, to coexist. The Hagia Sophia, built in 537 AD. Before the first stone of Notre Dame was laid, before Westminster Abbey existed, before most of Europe had running water. It was the largest enclosed space on Earth for nearly 1,000 years. Stand inside and look up at that dome. Engineers still argue about how Anthemius of Tralles built it without computers, without steel, without anything we would recognize as modern engineering. It has been a cathedral, a mosque, a museum, and a mosque again. It holds the weight of all of that history in its walls. Shifu tip. Arrive at Hagia Sophia for the 9 a.m. opening. By 11 a.m., the queues are brutal. Friday afternoons are closed to non-worshippers for prayers. Plan accordingly. Surprise story, the dome that should have fallen. When the Hagia Sophia's dome collapsed in an earthquake in 558 AD, the architect Isidore the Younger was brought in to rebuild it. His solution was audacious. He made the new dome 20 feet higher than the original, with a ring of 40 windows cut around its base. Structural engineers at the time said it was madness. Cutting holes in the base of a dome removes the very material that holds it up. But Isidore understood something his critics didn't. The windows let in light that created the illusion the dome was floating free of the walls, untethered, hovering. That dome has stood for nearly 1,500 years. The light still works. Go and see it yourself. 2. Must do. On a Bosphorus ferry, city receding behind. European shore, Asian shore. Take the Bosphorus ferry, not a tour boat, the actual public ferry, the vapor that commuters use every day. Line UB from Eminönü to Kadıköy, roughly 25 minutes, costs about 50 cents with an Istanbul cart. You will cross from Europe to Asia on a scheduled commuter service with locals reading newspapers and eating simit, as if this is a perfectly ordinary thing to do, which in Istanbul it is. From the deck, look back at the European shore, the Topkapı Palace, the Hagia Sophia, the Blue Mosque all visible at once, climbing up from the water. Then look forward to the Asian side, quieter, more residential, the neighborhood of Kadıköy, which is where Istanbulites actually go to eat, drink, and live without the tourist layer. Spend an hour there, eat something. Come back on the ferry as the sun gets low and the minarets catch the light. That crossing is the Istanbul experience in 25 minutes. Shifu tip. Get an Istanbul cart, reloadable transit card, from any ferry terminal machine. It works on ferries, metro, trams, and buses. The Bosphorus ferry, without one, costs 5 times more. Surprise story. The Asian side. Nobody talks about Kadıköy on Istanbul's Asian shore has a secret. It is where Istanbulites themselves go when they want to eat well, drink freely, and be left alone. The neighborhood around Moda and the Kadıköy market has the city's best fish restaurants, its most adventurous wine bars, its most creative street art, and a produce market, the Kadıköy Çarşısı, that puts most European food markets to shame. Almost no international travel guide covers it properly, because it requires crossing the water, and most tourists don't make that leap. The locals are not complaining. 3. Eat. Breakfast is the first ceremony of the day in Istanbul, and it is taken seriously. A proper Turkish breakfast, the kahvaltı, is not a meal. It is a philosophy. White cheese, black olives, sliced tomatoes, cucumbers, honey, clotted cream, sukuk sausage, eggs, fresh bread, and tea. In those narrow-waisted tulip glasses, served continuously, refilled without asking, and never hurried. The neighborhood of Kadıköy has excellent breakfast spots. Van kahvaltı eve, if you can get a table. Lunch. Balık ekmek, fish sandwich, from the rocking boats moored at Eminönü dock. Mackerel, grilled on the boat, tucked into a crusty roll with onions and lettuce. Eaten standing on the waterfront with the Bosphorus behind you. It costs almost nothing. It is one of the great street foods of the world. Dinner. A meyhane in Beyoğlu, a Turkish tavern. Meyhanes are designed for long evenings. A procession of cold mezze first, stuffed mussels, esme, hummus, white bean salad, fried liver, then hot dishes, then the raki, the anise spirit that is Turkey's national drink, poured over ice and cut with water until it turns milky white. They call it lion's milk. It earns the name. Shifu tip, Turkish tea, say, is offered everywhere, by everyone, for every occasion. Always accept. Refusing tea in Istanbul is like refusing a handshake. The correct response is always yes. 4. Shop, Grand Bazaar. Lantern-lit arched corridors, the Grand Bazaar, 4,000 shops, 61 covered streets, operating continuously since 1461. This is not a tourist market. It is a functioning commercial city within a city, where the same families have run the same shops for 5 and 6 generations, selling everything from gold jewelry to hand-painted ceramics to carpets whose patterns encode the geography of the village they came from. Navigate it without a map. Get deliberately lost. The bazaar rewards wandering. When a shopkeeper invites you in for tea, and they will, accept. You are not obliged to buy. The tea is genuine hospitality. The conversation is real. Haggling, when you find something you want, is expected and enjoyed by both sides. Starting at half the asking price is not rude, it is the protocol. For spices and pantry treasures, Ayikaman saw the Egyptian bazaar, also called the Spice Bazaar, just down the hill in Eminönü. Saffron, sumac, dried rose petals, Turkish delight towers, pomegranate molasses. Smaller and more focused than the Grand Bazaar. Easier to navigate. Equally extraordinary. Shifu tip. The best carpet shops are not in the Grand Bazaar, they're in the back streets of Sultanahmet and Arasta Bazaar. For ceramics, the Iznik Foundation in Sultanahmet sells museum-quality hand-painted tiles made using 500-year-old techniques. Not cheap, worth every lira. 5. Nightlife. Istiklal Avenue at night. Crowds, neon in street musician, Istanbul's nightlife begins late and runs long. The city doesn't really start its evening until 9 p.m., and the Meyhanes of Beyoğlu, the neighborhood across the Golden Horn from the old city, are where it all converges. Istiklal Avenue, the grand pedestrian boulevard of the modern city, pulses with people until midnight. Street musicians, pavement cafes, bookshops that stay open past 11 p.m. Walk its full length from Taksim Square down to the Galata Tower, which dates to 1348, and offers the most spectacular panoramic view of the city from its observation deck. For something otherworldly, a Sema ceremony, the whirling dervish ritual of the Sufi Mevlevi order. It runs most evenings at the Hojapasha Culture Center near Sirkachi Station. The dervishes spin not as performance but as prayer. The extended right hand receives blessings from heaven, the left hand turned down returns them to earth. Watching it done, with genuine devotion, in a vaulted Ottoman bathhouse, is one of the most moving things you can experience in any city, anywhere. Shifu. Tip. Rooftop bars in Sultanahmet offer views over the illuminated Hagia Sophia and Blue Mosque at night that defy description. Seven Hills Restaurant rooftop is the best vantage point in the city after dark. Go for a drink even if you don't eat. Surprise story. The dance that was outlawed. In 1925, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, in his campaign to modernize and secularize Turkey, banned all Sufi religious orders by decree, including the Mevlevi order of whirling dervishes. The tekes, their lodges, were closed. The ceremonies went underground. For 35 years, the Sema was performed in secret, in private homes, behind closed doors, by men who had learned the movements from their fathers and grandfathers, and refused to let them die. In 1957, the Turkish government quietly permitted the ceremony to resume, officially as a cultural performance rather than religious practice. The dervishes accepted the compromise. They kept spinning. The prayer, they said, was always internal anyway. 6. Arts. Walking through Topkapı. Palace courtyards. Mosaic tiles, cypress trees. Topkapı Palace. For 4 centuries, this was the administrative heart of an empire that stretched from Budapest to Baghdad, from the Crimea to Cairo. The palace complex on the tip of the peninsula overlooking the Bosphorus is not a building. It is a series of courtyards, pavilions, fountains, and gardens that unfold like chapters of a book. The harem alone takes an hour. The treasury, Kadıköy, containing the Topkapı dagger and the spoonmaker's diamond, is jaw-dropping, but the museum I tell everyone to make time for is the Istanbul Archaeological Museums, directly adjacent to Topkapı. 3 buildings holding one of the greatest collections of antiquity in the world, including the Alexander sarcophagus, carved around 325 BC with battle scenes of such detail and emotion, they look like they were finished yesterday. Most visitors walk past it on their way to the palace. Don't be most visitors. Shifu Tip, the Museum of Innocence in Beyoğlu. Created by Nobel Prize-winning author Orhan Pamuk as the physical counterpart to his novel of the same name, is unlike any museum anywhere. It takes 90 minutes and leaves you feeling something very specific about Istanbul, about love, and about time. Read the novel first, if you can. Surprise story: Medusa, upside down, in the dark. Beneath the streets of Sultanahmet, a 6th century Byzantine cistern holds 336 marble columns, rising from water in cathedral darkness. The Basilica cistern, built by Justinian in 532 AD to supply water to the Great Palace. It would be remarkable enough for that. But in the far northwest corner, 2 of the column bases are carved as Medusa heads. One rotated 90 degrees, one completely upside down. Nobody knows why. Byzantine scholars have debated it for centuries. The leading theory is that the builders simply needed blocks of the right size to raise the columns to the correct height, and these were what was available. The most casual act of repurposing in history, and the result is one of the most mysteriously beautiful sights in any city in the world. 7. Souvenir. Grand Bazaar. Ceramics, spices, lanterns. Istanbul is one of the great shopping cities on earth, but only if you know what to look for. Here's the Shifu edit. Turkish tea glasses. The tulip-shaped ones in a brass holder with small saucers. They are everywhere, and they are genuinely beautiful. Buy them from the Egyptian bazaar, not the tourist shops near the Hagia Sophia. The price difference is significant. Spices from the Egyptian bazaar. Proper saffron. Smell it. The real thing is extraordinary. Sumac for salads and kebabs, and dried rose petals. These travel perfectly and transform home cooking. A Nazar Bonku, the blue evil eye amulet. They hang in every shop, every taxi, every home in Turkey. The tradition is ancient, the belief is sincere, and the hand-blown glass ones from the old bazaar are genuinely beautiful objects. For something lasting, a hand-painted Iznik ceramic tile or bowl. The Iznik Foundation in Sultanahmet is the real source. Expensive, completely worth it. These are museum-quality objects, made by hand using techniques unchanged since the 16th century. Shifu Tip, Turkish Delight, Lokum, from Ali Muhyiddin Hacıbekir on Istiklal Avenue. They've been making it since 1777. The rosewater and pistachio varieties are transcendent. The pomegranate is extraordinary. Buy more than you think you need. 8. Stay Ottoman-style hotel courtyard or rooftop with Bosphorus view. Istanbul's hotels run from genuine Ottoman palaces to backpacker dormitories, and the right choice depends entirely on what kind of traveler you are. Dream Splurge. Chiron Palace Kempinski. An actual Ottoman palace on the European shore of the Bosphorus, with a pool that floats on the water and rooms where sultans once slept. If you're going to do it once in your life, this is the place. Mid-range, George Hotel Galata in the Beyoğlu neighborhood, a converted 19th century apartment building, beautifully done, rooftop terrace with golden horn views. Or Vault Karaköy, a bank-turned boutique hotel in the Karaköy neighborhood, steps from the ferry and the best breakfast spots. Smart budget. Mama Shelter Istanbul in Beyoğlu. The same formula as Paris, designed with flair, priced sensibly. Or any of the small Ottoman-style hotels in Sultanahmet. Look for rooftop terrace access, which multiplies the value enormously. Shifu tip. Stay in Karaköy or Beyoğlu for the best access to both the old city and the modern neighborhood scene. Sultanahmet is more convenient for the monuments, but feels like a museum after 9 p.m. when the tour groups leave. 9. Not to do. Istanbul is magnificent, and Istanbul will take advantage of you if you let it. Here's how not to let it. Don't accept unsolicited friendship near the Grand Bazaar. The friendly local who strikes up a conversation, asks where you're from, and eventually steers you towards his cousin's carpet shop. This is one of the oldest plays in the Istanbul tourism script. The tea is free. The carpet is not. Genuine locals do not approach strangers to practice English near tourist sites. Don't take an unmarked taxi. Istanbul has official yellow taxis. Always use these and insist the meter is running from the moment you get in. Negotiate nothing. The meter is the price. Don't try to do both the Asian and European sides in one day without the ferry plan. The bridges are traffic nightmares. The ferry is 25 minutes and extraordinary. Always choose the ferry. Don't wear shoes you can't slip on and off easily. Every mosque requires shoes removed at the entrance. You will enter a lot of mosques. Plan your footwear accordingly, and don't leave without sitting in a hammam. The Çemberlitaş Hammam, built in 1584 by the great Ottoman architect Sinan, is still operating exactly as it was designed. An hour in the hammam, the heat, the marble, the scrub, the foam massage, will reset your body and recalibrate your entire relationship with physical comfort. It is one of the great civilizational gifts of this city. Shifu. Tip. The T1 tram line runs from Kabataş through Karaköy, Eminönü, and all the way to Sultanahmet and beyond. It connects almost every major site on the European side. One Istanbul cart, tap, covers it all. 10. The Shifu map. 24-hour route. Here's your Istanbul in 24 hours. 2 continents, 1 waterway, layered with 2,500 years of history. Here's how you move through it. Dawn, 6:30 a.m. Galata Bridge. Watch the fishermen and the first call to prayer echo across the Bosphorus. Seam it from a street cart. This is the most beautiful 30 minutes in travel. Morning. Hagia Sophia at 9 a.m., first entry, to Sultanahmet Square, to Topkapı. Palace Courtyard, to Basilica. Cistern, underground. Cool, extraordinary, never skip. Midday. Balık ekmek fish sandwich at Eminönü, dock, to Bosphorus ferry, to Kadıköy, Asian side. Explore the market, eat something, come back on the return ferry at golden hour. Afternoon. Grand Bazaar. Enter at 3 p.m. Crowds thin slightly. Egyptian bazaar for spices and locum. Çemberlitaş, Hammam. Allow 90 minutes. Pre-book. Evening. Meyhane dinner in Beyoğlu. Meze, Rocky, long table. Sema ceremony at Hoca Pasha. Book ahead. Late night, Galata Tower, panoramic view. Istiklal Avenue walk. Rooftop drink over illuminated Hagia Sophia. Every city in this series has given me something. Chicago gave me architecture. Paris gave me beauty. Toronto gave me belonging. Istanbul gives me something harder to name. It gives me the feeling that history is not behind us. It is all around us, stacked in layers, breathing. This is the only city on earth that has been capital of 2 of the greatest empires in human history, the Byzantine and the Ottoman. The stones you walk on were walked on by Roman emperors, by crusading knights, by Ottoman sultans, by Sufi mystics, by Allied soldiers, by 100 million ordinary people living ordinary lives on extraordinary ground. 24 hours will not give you Istanbul. It will give you the beginning of Istanbul. And the beginning is enough to make sure you come back for the rest. Ordinary is really extraordinary. If Istanbul is on your list, and after this, it should be on your list, hit subscribe. The 3-day and 5-day Istanbul guides are coming, going deeper into the neighborhoods. Balat, Fener, Moda, Arnavutköy, the Istanbul that guidebooks still haven't caught up with. Follow me on Instagram at TravelShifu for daily travel drops. And if you find yourself on the Bosphorus ferry at golden hour with the city on both sides and the call to prayer starting, put your phone down, just for 1 minute. Look at it with your actual eyes. That moment belongs to you. I'm your travel shifu. See you in the next city.